Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here live in the place to be. Official test start time 2 minutes. Um, 5 words per sentence, 5 sentences per paragraph, 5 paragraphs each. Revision, 5 computer spaces in between, 5 revisions. You may use your hyperscientific, you can use any artificial intelligence or technology, but you must show the work and share the work with the class. If you do not, I'm going to assume all you did was use technology, you will get zero credit for it. So, welcome back. Let's get started. This is part engineering class, part moment of reflection and mentorship and guidance and inspiration and motivation for you guys. Part of this is my business endeavors, what I'm doing with my career, the guidance, the direction, things that I need to do. This is an open universe, right? There's so many things flowing through me that I don't just want to jump into the markets. As you can see, we've had a problem with the hyperlinks and the emails and PDF files and all the stuff because I'm having technical difficulties. So before we continue, I want to give you guys a heads up that some of the formats they're going to change regardless over time, but in the near future I can already see some of the changes that are to be implemented. And because of that, communication is essential in every relationship. So it's important that I am able to convey these things to you guys. As you can see, I'm actually analog today because everything is out of charge. My blue oranges are out of charge. My uh, Rolling Stones are out of charge. Um, it's a challenge. You know what I mean? It's definitely a challenge. So we're starting the day right. We are in the hydration process. I've been cutting down my sugar. So this is a small coffee yesterday, and the day before it was 5 creams, 5 sugars. I cut it down to four. Today 3. It's a tougher moment, so we're going to do that at the same time. As you can tell, I'm over here um, charging this digital platform, which is my handheld, and I'm just gonna power up Baja just so we have it. So it's been an issue, right? Where do we begin? I'm dealing with something that normally we will push outside of the forefront. We'll push it to the back. And I recognize the importance of, you know, even um, putting it into the context of consideration. I'm dealing with very powerful negative forces that are doing everything in their power to derail this company, this investment, everything we've been working so hard for. Do you know that we are going to celebrate 10 years as a company? Um, that right there is an amazing feat, an accomplishment. I never thought that I would still have the company all these years later. I thought by now I would have probably cashed out, but I realized that I have been making a lot of decisions emotionally, which is improper application. You know, it's just improper in so many ways. You know what I mean? So I feel the sense and the urgency to make a correction. I'll give you a basic example yesterday. The the CES presentation for Nvidia was on Monday. This is in Las Vegas. This is 2 years in a row that the goal was to be there with a prototype. After, at the time, 7, 8 years. Now we're going on 10 years. From an engineering standpoint, from a design standpoint, some of my frustration stems from this because at the time that I started the company, everything that's happening now was a dream. In my wildest dreams, I knew and I had the foresight that this is where technology was going to go. And it's been very well documented through the radio show, the podcast, my YouTube channel, all my social media, right? But the fact that the changes are from another cosmic universe are amazing to me. So I know for a fact, statistics show that there are many engineers just like myself in that same dynamic, right? So I'll give you an example. In my music career, when I have production, new production, either from a producer, a collective of producer, a production house, a company, etc., I never listen to the instrumentals. My signature for my music is capturing lightning in a bottle, right? Meaning the first concept that I think about is the concept that's going to go on the record. And it can only exist in this universe one time, and that's the first time. Similar to the designs of my NFTs, once you listen to it the first time, that NFT will not be the same. It's designed to change. It's designed not to be stationary, right? So I have to be careful. A lot of the times, production, they want to showcase or give me a demonstration. I come from the analog era, right? So back then, for you to break into music, you had to like um, submit a demo or something like that, or pass a demo along to somebody because it literally was your business card. It was the way that you demonstrated your gifts and your talent and natural abilities. Well, listening to the developments from the last NVIDIA keynote, going back throughout the years, knowing that I was a part of this entire process, directly and indirectly, both in my personal and my career life, right? My corporate life, is overwhelming at times. Photons fire off in the brain. It's so emotional. I'm so infused with this energy, right? I was literally electrocuted as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Energy still flows through me. I can still feel it, right? So, long story short, when I'm listening to the changes, just the modifications, it's not just hardware and it's not just software. It's the way that the technology is communicating has shifted to the quantum level. Quantum for civilian application, not quantum in the sense of bits and the way it does what it does. Most people will understand what I mean by that. So we're not going to divert and go into full spectrum details of that because my mind is always on engineering. I'm always designing, right? As I'm listening to the module and I'm taking the exams myself for NVIDIA, I'm also training my students and I'm making it their graduation, last exams and last finals. So it's not just, finals as far as preparing to take the exams. This is like, it's about to be graduation, right? Let me move this a little bit so that I can have a little bit more space here. So as I'm listening to it, of course, I'm putting two and two together. I know how the systems work now, and it was so overwhelming that I had to stop. I had to literally stop the class a few days in a row because the information was so powerful, and I'm so busy with other things in my personal life that it is beginning to affect my professional life. So now I have to draw a line in the sand. It immediately made me um, reflect on my career. There are phone calls on the 9th of January that I have not made, that I should have made on the 1st, on the 2nd, maybe even on the 3rd. 1 week and 2 days. Even if you give me New Year's Eve, that's 1 week and 1 day where I don't like this performance. I don't like this trajectory. I've been so busy with everything that's going on, my investments, my portfolios, brick and mortar locations, my career, designs, um, my military life. Look what happened last week. Hopefully, we don't get that phone call. I don't believe it will get to that, but you kind of always have to have that in your mind because it can happen. Even if, you know, the Air Force or the Space Force called me to fix something that was broken, it's still not an easy thing to do. And I'm not even capable. I'm not even, there's so many things that I need, right? In my career, there's so many different data points, right? We have Warner Brother Discovery, that's one arm. So build a mind map here. For my students, build a blockchain mind map here, and that'll be part of your exam. So we have Warner Brother Discovery, we have Paramount Skydance. They contain Larry Ellison and David Ellison in one unit. You have Netflix all by itself. You have the board of directors from the corporation. They're saying take the Netflix deal at 88 billion. Long term, it doesn't include some of the networks, and you have a bigger marketplace because the business module for entertainment has changed, which we're going to talk about that. My catalog is in the middle of all of this. I'm the reason why a lot of these things have happened, or at least I am that tip on the iceberg. I brung the Titanic ship down because of my catalog. Skydance goes through a similar merger with Paramount. They combine and become one, but it comes with Larry Ellison, which is Oracle, and David Ellison, which I have a lot of faith in that kid. That kid is smart. That kid is very smart. Do not count them out. They did a similar thing with Trump's sons, and look what they did with crypto. They weren't bad in business. They were bad in the wrong type of businesses. They've been very successful in this business. So let's talk about dynamics. You have my catalog, which is still part of whatever negotiation. So you have to understand there's agreements that could be reached prior to and agreements that could be reached afterwards. And that variable is unknown. So for business, it's important. Before we continue with Warner Brothers, As far as engineering from the NVIDIA side, they have a gigafactory about to open in the Dominican Republic. I'm on it like white on rice. These are my business partners, directly and indirectly, not even including this investment, but it will be a part of this investment before, during, or after all negotiations. So now you're bringing in BlackRock, Blackstone, hypnosis. This is where the can of worms opens up, right? As I'm listening to the module, photons are firing in my brain. I'm designing and building and engineering and incorporating and changing and adjusting. I'm doing all these things, right? Remember, we've identified I'm dealing with all this personal stuff, which does not belong in business because it's too complex. This is too much of a priority, right? So I had to stop. I had to stop because it's like I cannot be sharing these designs with my students. I have full government clearance. There's things that I cannot just disclose like that. Like it's just common sense, right? And especially for me, once you're retired, it's kind of hard to turn that switch on and off, to go from that military gear to, okay, medical gear, civilian application gear. I need to be working on the next George Foreman grill, not on the next missile system. I need to work on the new Keurig, not the next radar system. Yet, in this showcase, they're talking about autonomous technology, which I'm part of on the military side and the medical side and the civilian side. This is really the heart of my technology company. Everything else is a bonus. Yet I'm one person processing all these data points. Fast forward to Warner Brothers, which is the biggest thing. The reason why yesterday was so pivotal, it's not just because it was my grandmother's birthday. And the day before that, not just because I celebrated 1 year, I had my last heart attack. This is the second one. I'm 43 years old. I don't want to make it to the next heart attack. You understand me? It's because there was a meeting between the directors of the board for Warner Brothers, and there's going to be another meeting on the 21st. So they're keeping score in a different way. Even though this meeting just happened yesterday, they're talking about this is the eighth bid. Why are they discussing the eighth bid when it was the eighth bid before this meeting? Or was it that it was just a meeting and there were no other things that were changed? On the 21st, what are they going to talk about? Another eighth bid? Is that what they're promoting? Because what they're marketing to the Financial Times and to the public, it's not what's going on in the background in the corporate boardroom meetings. So now this changes the dynamic of everything because part of what I built last year has completely changed. And all the people that were involved in those projects for 2025, they don't exist anymore because everything is different. So the investments are different, the portfolios are different, the execution is different, what is required is different, the capital will be different. Therefore, the personnel has to be different. What do I do with this collective of people that can no longer join this project in the way that they could have last year based on what was on the table last year? If anything, we're identifying for 2026 what can be placed on the table. So you have Larry and David Ellison connected to Oracle, which is doing major things. We still have to go through the new Intel system. We have to go through the new AMD system. That's only three companies. We haven't explored Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Nokia, Motorola, Xiaomi. Um, they have a urban division to their brand. Um, I know the last three letters is OKE. I don't know what division is called, but it's like their their Boost Mobile. It's like their hip hop division. We want to do business with all of them, and we're not going to wait. For the first time now, my manufacturing arm is more eager to say, we got to go, go, go. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I was supposed to showcase a few of the newer products, and I was unable to do that because I was busy with other things. And again, this is why I identified this as an issue, right? And why we're putting it into the ether so that we can find a solution. We don't want to focus on the problem. So they forced this merger of Paramount Skydance. They become one. We'll put that on one side. Then you have Warner Brother Discovery on the other side. You have Larry and David Ellison. You have Oracle, which is an extension. Then you have the political connections, which is where the friction was. You have Netflix. I don't want to reveal the IP of how I make my business decisions. There's only so much that I can share with the public. Probably 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%. Because I live a very private life, right? And I reserve the right to do so. I've been a fucking celebrity my whole life. I have every right to do that. So obviously, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm 43, going on 44 years old. So when you consider other similar deals that are taking place, you have to kind of take everything into consideration because there are so many different variables, right? So I'll give you an example to put it into context with BlackRock and Blackstone, which are my main business partners. Everything else is like water under a bridge. Hypnosis raised venture capital, went into the market, bought these catalogs, became uber successful. It was the thing to do a few years ago. It still is. Artists like The Weeknd closed an over $1 billion evaluation deal, and there have been other examples. Now, Blackstone, smart, sees the vision before BlackRock and they buy hypnosis. Instead of complicating things more, they just said, if we buy hypnosis, we're buying into this industry, we're buying into this trade, we get the intellectual property, we get the catalogs, we get everything, right? So BlackRock is standing by but noticing they want their own componentry similar to, if not greater than, most likely greater than hypnosis. Whereas last year or the year before, there may have been an incentive to pursue hypnosis. It's already irrelevant because my catalog is bigger than any artist catalog that they have in their roster. And that's a dynamic they've never experienced before. And it is an anomaly, but they will have to deal with certain situations like that moving forward because technology is changing. And this is the golden key that I'm here to give to like a Mauricio Ruiz, which we're gonna address. So on this one arm, you have an $88 billion offer, which puts the price of my catalog at X amount, right? It does not include CNN or some of the other networks. Maybe that's the reason why the evaluation is $30 billion lower. But what is the true number? The board of directors at Warner Brothers, who advised stockholders not to take the bid, which is out of my control because my catalog is part of the company, based on the fact that even though Paramount Skydance, Larry and David Ellison, and Oracle indirectly are offering $108.4 billion, which is almost $3 a share more, right? This is not their first offer. It's their eighth bid, as far as we know, until I check the paperwork, right? So what they're saying is they don't even care. All the eight rebuttals or counter offers were just to create a delay and an anticipation to see how they're going to impact the market right before the fourth quarter closes and taxes are due on the 14th. Why is that important? Because they're saying they want 10 to 20 billion dollars more. So there is a price that they're willing to accept and sign off on if the bid is now between 118.4 billion or 128.4 billion. So what does that do to the market? We are victims to a system that we have no control over. We can't determine these decisions, right? Now, the 128.4 billion does include CNN and does include every other network, which is also what the Ellisons want, because if they take control of CNN, they're taking control of news. Look, as an example, in real time, Mauricio Ruiz, attention to you and to Team TMP. Shout out to Veed. Um, if they do this, this changes everything. Why is that? Because they don't really care. It is about the money. 128.4 billion, which thus increases once again the value of my catalog. At 80 billion, it has an amount. At 108 billion, which is the peak, that's the number. 110, 128.4 billion, that's 30-40% increase. One business move. There is a conspiracy that the Ellisons want CNN for political whatever, but we're not here for that. We're here for financial news. We're here for the ability to make the smartest investment decisions. We don't want to just be retired. We want to stay retired. Retiring is easy. Staying retired is difficult. I've worked harder since I retired than ever in my life, which makes no sense. But the dynamic of business changed. COVID-19 changed things. Artificial intelligence, the Hopper system, all these things came at once, right? So in between that, again, they're projecting the next meeting is on the 21st, as far as we know. My lawyers are saying July, August, which is proving to be more accurate. Why does it affect the market? Because it teeters things either this way or that way. Think about what Netflix did to Blockbuster. This is the same thing happening in a new version and in a new generation. Now, why is this important, Mauricio Ruiz? Let me explain to you in baby food terms so you can understand what role you play in the context of this investment. And I like to challenge you publicly so that we can go toe to toe, right? I'm Ryu, you're T Hawk. I got to train you slowly, right? Slowly but surely. But you are powerful. I just got to show you where you're powerful and how you're powerful, right? Without going into the full context, look at the example showcased by two people, Irv Gotti, Murder Inc., and that entire movement. 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, and his entire movement with the investments in Louisiana, which is my home turf, many investments there, just like NVIDIA in the Dominican Republic. Streaming series, independent motion pictures, entire in house studio set up and built. Everything is there for this person to be successful. When Irv Gotti put up his catalog, it wasn't to sell it or to lease it, it was as collateral for a line of credit of $150 million. Impressive at the time, but remember, these grow quantum, so they scale on a different level. 50 Cent catches wind and says, no, not only am I going towards from music to motion pictures and video games and comic books and series and, sitcoms and everything, I'm going to be the entire in house production plant. I'm going to be like Tyler Perry, have my own studio, my own creatives, and everything else. Everything he was doing with the big meat story, the controversy with Dame Dash, that was all strategic. He knew he was taking down Sean Combs with the release of this project, which was really produced by people like a Gene Deal behind the scenes, putting it together. And then here comes corporate America, boom, and they just snatch everything, which that's what they do. Corporate America is just a vicious beast when it comes to intellectual property. So now that changes the dynamic of a song in my catalog, which is 10,000. It's not just 10,000 songs, it's 10,000 video games, 10,000 books, 10,000 series, 10,000 movies, 10,000 sitcoms, merchandise. Each one is its own ecosystem. It has its own universe on the blockchain, which I protected. My music is between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Right in that lane is my motorcycle, and I'm popping wheelies on my Ducati or my Lamborghini or my Porsche, my Ferrari. So why does that change things? Because now, if Netflix takes the deal, they have the open avenues built in. So when we take a song or an album and turn it into a video game or a comic book or a series or a sitcom or a movie, the system is already built in. We don't have to come in as a third party to then negotiate with Netflix unfavorable terms compared to a built in system. If Paramount Skydance wins the bid, we want to see if they're going to improve on the current model. The real challenge is to take down uh, Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger's team at Disney, which has Marvel, has Spider Man, they have ESPN, of course, the whole Disney collection, and the list goes on. If I post a movie or content on Disney Plus and a new subscriber signs on, and I'm the first program that they select, I'm going to get that royalty. At the time, it was $1. So 1 million people is $1 million. Passive income. I don't have to do anything but just have my content on there. Notice also how they attack Damon Dash's networks because they're prohibiting him now from making those business changes in the future. We can see the play because we understand the game. So $88 billion valuation, 108.4, 110.4, 120.4 billion dollars changes everything based on my negotiations with Warner Brothers in 2023, which is also coming up on its 2 year anniversary. With my deal, they lost 5.5 billion. They only made back 780 billion. So they're still in the deficit to me 4.7 something billion. Now, those figures are not guaranteed. We don't know for sure, but it is the closest estimate that we can measure that is quantifiable with a computer system to see, okay, this is what really happened. So I was the tip of the iceberg, but I still am lodged onto the side of the Titanic, right? Now, of course, with my technology company, I own, um, you know, like a video game developing arm. Warner Brothers has the IP for Batman. I want to make a new version of Batman, a more down to earth version of Batman. I just need the rights to a little series, merchandise, comic books, video game, and see where it goes. If the company goes in the direction that we're thinking that it's going to go, it's going to change a lot of things because I'm sure once the magic R1 system hits the market, other manufacturers are going to try to see how they can implement these changes. So the same is true with technology and design, right? So while this is happening, we're all waiting to see what kind of deal is structured, what kind of deal is accepted and approved, what kind of deal is actually implemented, and how it's going to affect the market. Because once this deal is reached and it is public domain, other competitors will come in to try to capitalize at least on a portion of that investment. So, how do we move forward? There's so many verticals and so many horizontals. For example, the Trump family with their securities of digital currency investments and companies, they're right there, ready to do business. They have the infrastructure, they've done it before, and they're a trustable, reliable source. This is the President of the United States. I can guarantee you, at least over the next 2 or 3 years, if I wanted to sell the company, I can make the investment and cash out as soon as the administration changes. This is just a small potential. So that's one avenue. Another avenue is going directly to Netflix. Now, Netflix just approved two major deals. One was 2 billion, one was 200 million. The $200 million deal was for Charlemagne the God, if I'm not mistaken. So please, everybody, Google and put that on your finals. So once again, where does that leave us? How do we convey to Mauricio Ruiz that all these opportunities are right there? But it's going to require for you to forget the old system of business. Once again, you have to get out of that universe and come to this universe because you don't belong in this universe anymore. I've made it to where you can't be in this part of the universe. You got to be on this part of the universe to get to this part of the universe. How do we administrate that? Everything I have to do for the tour is cash flow while we negotiate the auction for my collectible NFTs. The singular one, again, we have a company which was a competitor in 2021. We have a company that has the infrastructure. Do we negotiate with them? They've done it before. They were my competitors. Do we embrace them the same way we embrace Solar City, Tesla, um, companies like Blue Origin, but SpaceX? Do we join a business partnership? Because on the engineering side, beyond the military side, I'm partners with Elon Musk. So, as a sign of maturity and growth, I realized, you know what, we could help each other and we could kind of go where we want to go, even if this person's destination is a different place. At least we'll be in the same trajectory, which this is like a remix of everything that has been happening. It's just a different version. So it's not just autopilot, it's not just Tesla, it's not just Solar City or SpaceX. Now you have Waymo, now you have Apple, now you have Robotaxi, now you have Lucid in the game. Of course, Tesla, because Robotaxi, duh. But now the business models are changing. Technology is changing. How we implement the technology is changing. And I'm facing all these challenges because I have all the knowledge, but I'm by myself. Why? Because I have to delegate this to my team, delegate this to my family members, delegate this to my friends, delegate this to my business partners, to my clients, to my customers. I don't just want to be a point of purchase. I don't want you to buy one Ferrari from me. I want you to buy every Ferrari from me. I want you to bring your family members and your friends, and I want to do business with them. And that's how I want to grow my company, like Tom Hartland, like the real deal, Evander Holyfield. So, how do we quantify all of this? Pursuing Mauricio and Team TMP is one avenue, but it's very limited to what we can do because all of his friends are doing or trying to do what we're doing. He's a small part of that. How do we convince him to be over here so that he can have the leverage amongst that crowd? Because he has the most valuable asset, which is our catalog. How do we do that in a timely fashion, knowing that we only have another 3 months till we have to pay taxes, and the more taxes the more you make, the more you pay? How do you explain that to somebody that doesn't have that pressure? These are not personal taxes; these are corporate taxes. These are paid in advance. We pay this in advance, and we overpay, and then we hope and pray that we get a check back, or that we get a tax deferred payment until next year. We get some type of incentive. How do you convey that to a person that has not invested millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of their own money over years and years and years? I just said we're celebrating 10 years. I started with a few $1 million. You know how much I put into the company since? And it's still in its infancy, it's still being incubated. We could go in so many different directions. I have a new album to put together. All of these things are important. All of these things are a priority based on everything that I'm dealing with as we speak. And this is perhaps the most important factor because we're reaching these roadblocks where we have to be human and we have to make a decision, not just from a financial standpoint. All money is not good money. Everything that glitters is not gold. Even if we close the best deal in the world, we still have to deal with God. We still have to face life. You understand me? No matter what happens, you don't want to make a business decision and feel that you haven't made the best business decision. And that's really what's happening. Right now, as much as I would like to prolong this, I have to go back to my office. I have to check on my churches and my charities. I have to help my family with that investment, put everything on pause, knowing that I have a problem with hardware software, knowing that a lot of my systems are being replaced because a Hopper system is not an Antminer. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Grace Hopper, all these technologies are not going to wait for our loved ones to understand, for our significant others to understand, for our clients and our customers, our business partners and colleagues. This is not waiting for anybody. And be careful with the people that want to make you feel like they have the power to wait. My company invests millions of dollars every day, makes millions of dollars every day, pays millions of dollars in taxes, and also loses millions of dollars. That's the part right there. How long can you sustain that? How long can you survive that? It builds character, it changes your perspective. You make different decisions. Every single day is a meeting. Every day we're talking about what are the technological changes. We are think tanks within think tanks within think tanks because we're designing tanks and battleships and aircraft. And you get what I'm saying? Again, when the situation happened in Venezuela with Maduro, who was all over it like white on rice? CNN. So that's a very important asset. Why was no one else able to get that information and even using the technology? Because they don't have the money to do so. They could fly and be on the scene and tell you everything that's going on and have officers and professionals and a team of people delivering everything to you in real time. While the market is reacting, we kind of stay neutral. We're like, no, financial technology news. We're not focused on the political side of it. But it shows you a real life world example test of the real technology. Why was CNN on top of everything? And let's go into it. Delta Force, Ghost Squadron. Yeah, we knew about the F-35 two Lightnings. We knew that. But there was another 120 aircraft. There were airmen that were aged 20 to 49, myself included. So a lot of the fighter pilots for the F-18 squadron, they were all veterans. These guys knew exactly what they were doing. And that changes the dynamic of the outcome. We did something that people have no idea what happened that day. You're going to hear about this for years. It was that much of a important exercise, right? In military might and power. The systems that China, quote unquote, supposedly had put in place, we took them out. No problem. Once you know that the 22s were up there, we were not playing. Once you knew it was Delta Force, you knew it was nuclear. Once he was delivered right to New York, that tells you everything right there. Now, how does the market react to that? How do we move on? We don't want to just focus on that, but how is it changing the market? Why all of a sudden this is in the same heart of the Warner Brother deal? Because they own CNN. And if this is something historical and they're a part of it, how can we become a part of it to where it's benefiting everything that we're trying to do? And that's the part that people don't understand. They cannot grasp that concept because they're looking at things on the surface. So when you're talking about these data points, how do you approach a Mauricio Ruiz for my students and talk about hip hop and R&B and the Joe Rogan podcast or the Joe Button podcast or the Patrick Bet David podcast? How do you even have this conversation when CES happened on Monday? Here we are 4 or 5 days later. This is the culmination of what they brought to the public. So just imagine what's going on behind the scenes. As a government contractor for AFIUS, part of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, Department of War, there's no other way for me to view these things and filter these things and break it down in baby food terms for the people that I love that are forcing me to pay a love tax. No more of that. Either you understand what I'm talking about or you don't. Either you know business and technology and you know where the future is going or you don't. And if you don't, it's okay. There's many books, websites, forums, YouTube specials for you to educate yourself. But whose responsibility is it to do that? It is your responsibility to do that, not mine. I could go on Shark Tank. I could go work directly with Guinness. I can go to Nike, Under Armour, and Reebok and Adidas and close these deals by myself. I can go to my manufacturing arm and say, I need this, I need this, I need that. But it's still not enough. Not for a catalog of this size. Not when new music is coming out. Not when we have to be on tour to produce the cash flow to keep the company afloat. While we're negotiating venture, seed, and angel capital, equity capital for the auction so that we can move forward. The record is 200 million. We need to break it this year. That's one. For the catalog, I don't know. That's a nice little buffer for me to chill and build on the rest. I already know the valuation. They don't have to tell me that. So if we're negotiating in the $1 billion range, the catalog is worth a few hundred billion. And don't worry, because EBITDA only goes up. So if I administrate the catalog at today's evaluation, whatever that figure is, I'll be at 29 trillion before 55. They know that and they understand that. No problem. But now more research has to take place. Every person on the team has to understand that this is what's being fought for. This is what we're negotiating. This is why we don't sleep at night. This is why every day is data points, research. How can we adjust? How can we pivot? How can we juke? Where's the industry going? Where do we stand on that? How do we want to approach this? This is bigger than even and all the other little things that have been mentioned throughout the last few months of last year. When I reach out to Mauricio Ruiz, what do I want to say? Anything less than this, it would be a disservice to that person. It would be retroactive. Again, the clock is ticking. I don't want to waste time, but this is equally as important. And that was my first sip of coffee. 9/11. I need everyone to understand the severity of what we're negotiating. This is not a game and we don't have time to waste. You know who has pulled through in my company up above and ahead of everybody? Camiolis. She's the one that has tried possibly the hardest, and she's been the most pivotal. And she's part of the three songs that we have with Taylor Swift, those NFTs, that was all Ramis. So Ramis owns a part of this company. Anywhere you slice it, I'm going to give her a part of this company because she earned it and she deserves it. And why not give that to her? What better way of me saying thank you? This is better than me buying her a Bentley Bentayga. She got a Pura Sangre. She has a whole bunch of stuff. She has all the toys that I like. She has them. But a part of the company says thank you long term. Thank you very much long term. One moment inspires the next. Positivity is infectious. So one positive move leads to another one. New construction in the business, new construction as an expansion, a new area in development, a new marketing campaign, analog and digital. I had a conversation with one of my clients. They were doing Google ads and buying like the Google leads. And what I wanted to showcase to this person that, could be one of my mentees is the fact that you have a proven formula that if you invest 10,000, you're going to get 30,000, $40,000 worth of sales. You have something quantifiable for the time being. It's limited. What are you worried about? Your focus should be, yo, every month I'm going to make that 10,000 so that I can gross the 40,000. And every time that I gross the 40,000, that 10,000 that goes into marketing, I'm not even going to worry about it. Look at this McDonald's franchise. What do you think? All the owners, we have to fucking pay for the region. What is the promotion for the region? I don't have to worry about it. Automatic pay. What's the point of debating, yo, what Disney character should we have this month? What's the point in that? 10,000 in advertisement brings us $30,000 in profit in business. We're still grossing the 40,000, so we're really playing with 50 grand. $10,000. What should be the number one goal? The number one goal should be, yo, how can we create this $10,000 vacuum or pocket so that we could continuously do this over and over again? It's a formula. You can repeat it, you can duplicate it, you can teach it to somebody, etc. This is the reality of everything that we're facing and dealing with right now. This is why upgrading hardware software is so crucial. It's so important. If I lose sleep checking the markets every day, what does everybody in my company need to be doing? It's not watching uh, Sex in the City. You understand what I'm saying? Yesterday, I went to reread Rembrandt's Enterprise. At this phase and stage of my life, even when I'm reading the book, it's completely different. So I said, you know what? I have a goal, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it inside of a book. We're going to start to read the entire book, and we're going to do it together. We're going to have a book club. Why? Why not? I don't know why. Let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? Subconsciously, it will tell us a lot about our goals. And that's what we need. We need real data points. We need feedback. I had a goal, and in order to accomplish that goal, I got to handle my thing, handle my business. Let's go for it. I hope that this has provided a little bit of clarity based on the fact that yesterday it was just chaotic logistically, and today is a test of how we're going to be able to do things differently moving forward. So give me one quick second. Let me close my Baja app and let me make sure that no new messages are coming in. And I want to manage uh, input and output for the company in all ways. Now it's to the point where also, you know what I'm thinking? This this component is charging at 50% the capacity. I also think that was a part of it. So we're missing a one-way line and we're missing another tower, but we'll figure that out as time progresses. So without further ado, let's close out the day with a quick prayer. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings in our lives. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings in our lives. We worry not about what we don't have because we're in the process of getting it. And in that journey, everything we do is in your name. Amen. Amen. May you have an amazing day today. May you conquer everything in your path. May everything that you touch turn into solid gold bars and silver bars and beautiful and precious gemstones such as moissanite or laboratory grown diamonds or any laboratory grown gem. Always remember to dream big because dreams come true. It happened to me, and I know for a fact it's going to happen to you. Have an amazing day from here, Yacht Club. Check the churches, check the charities, back to the office, help the family, design engineer, teach all day, take the finals, and continue logistics for the tour, which we've done very good, but we're going to work on transportation logistics. Again, I have to learn all this stuff so I can teach it to Rami, so she can teach it to the rest of you guys. But thank you so much, and we'll see you right back faster than you can do this. God bless. You guys have the best teacher in the world. Holla at your boy. Dreams come true, baby.